Having specific tools for splitting firewood around camp can make life super enjoyable. What I like to do is take a look at the tools that I use on a regular basis around camp to help me split up and process firewood more easily. First, we're going to look at a felling axe, and a felling axe is for felling trees, not really splitting up lumber, but it will work for splitting up lumber. The good thing with an axe like this is that you can find these just about at any yard sale or flea market. You might have to put a new handle on some, but they have a nice big heavy head that'll help process that wood a little bit quicker than just the forest axes that we carry as woodsmen. So you could see this has a longer handle. This has a 36-inch handle on it and a 3-pound head. So the extra weight in the head compared to a smaller axe is going to just push through that wood a little bit harder. The thing is though, you could see this bit is quite narrow. Okay, so you could see right through here's narrow, so it's really meant for biting into wood, not splitting the wood apart. We really just want a deep bite into the wood on a standing tree. So although this will work, it's not the most optimal tool to have, but if you have nothing else, keep one of these around camp. Next is my favorite tool for splitting firewood, and that's actually called a splitting axe. And if you look at this, it's shaped a little bit differently than most axes. It has a little bit narrower, longer bit on it. Okay, and you could see that the cheeks are swollen out here a little bit. So what happens is this allows you to be very precise with where you're going to strike into the firewood with, because you're going to be coming down with it. This longer bit out front keeps it a little bit more stable on a downward swing and allows, once this bites into the wood to press apart and split out the firewood. So this is my favorite splitting type axe. This is a Husqvarna though. This is a newer axe, so you could buy this brand new. I think that they run around $40, so it's not bad, and it's definitely a worthwhile investment if you split a lot of firewood at camp. You can see here what this is this is basically an overstrike collar that I made myself. I wrapped this up with paracord and then glued it. So if I do overstrike a piece of wood, I'm not going to bust up my handle too quickly. I'll just bust up this cordage. I could take it off and put some new stuff on. So this is a splitting axe. Definitely something you should look into getting. Next we have a splitting maul. And a splitting maul, as you can see, looks much like a sledgehammer on one side, has a very thick cheek after it bites down into the wood. Again, that long drawn out bit. Okay, so on your downward strike, it's going to have a lot more control than something with a wider bit. Now here's the good thing with these guys. This backside is tempered different. So you can pound on metal. You can pound metal on metal. We always say you don't pound on the back pole of an axe with any type of hammer, but with a splitting maul you can. So I always tell individuals, if you have a splitting maul, bring a small sledgehammer, okay? Works best. These splitting mauls work absolutely best when you have larger stumps with real grainy, knotty type wood. So once you drive this down in, you could take your hammer and pound on the back side of this and help drive it through. So although I like this, it's heavier, and I usually try always when I'm going to process any type of wood to begin with at a camp, I'm going to try to find something with a little bit straighter grain if I can. And this is a little bit overkill, for me at least, with much of that wood. But along with this, of course, sledgehammer. Another thing that's very valuable for around camp to go with this is just a steel wedge. And these steel wedges can be driven down into wood and then hammered with the back of your splitting maul. So having a sledgehammer, a splitting maul, and a wedge, you can do a lot if you have really gnarly wood. But most people are going to have smaller pieces that are manageable, that a splitting axe will work just fine for. So there are a few different style splitting tools that you can have around camp. Again, they're big, they're heavy, they're not something you're going to backpack around. So that's really something for a stationary style camp, something that you're going to be processing wood for your wood stove, especially if you're going to be doing any hot tenting, that you have a stove inside your tent. You're going to want to process a larger amount of wood, and you don't want to have to spend a lot of time with that. And I'm a huge proponent of always having the right tool to do the job. So having your small forest axe, although it will work, is not the most ideal situation. If you bust that handle up and that's your only axe, then that might not be too good of a situation for you depending on your location. So just think about having one of these other tools with you. Like I said, a felling axe will work, not ideal. Them splitting axes, in my opinion, are superb. Definitely look into getting one of them, and those splitting mauls. You're probably going to find the splitting mauls a little bit cheaper, because they're going to be at yard sales and flea markets. But again, we go back to that splitting axe is just a superb tool in my opinion for processing wood. Keep all this in mind, it'll make your life much easier at camp. This was Dan Wowak at Coalcracker Bushcraft. If you haven't already, check us out over at coalcrackerbushcraft.com for all our merchandise and classes. And until next video, stay in the woods, guys.